The letter trembled in Ethan's hands, its edges fraying as his fingers dug into the paper. 17 years of believing he knew his dad. And now Thesa's single page that unraveled everything. I'm not who you think I am, Ethan. I'm Sarah now. In the quiet of their small Ohio home, the words screamed louder than the argument that had erupted last night. Ethan's dad Sarahad stood in the kitchen, eyes pleading, voice soft but resolute, explaining a truth Ethan couldn't grasp. He'd stormed out, slamming the door, the sound still echoing in his chest. Now, alone on the couch, Ethan stared at the letter his dad had left before disappearing this morning. The house felt hollow, like it had lost its heartbeat. Photos on the mantel showed a man Ethan had idolized, strong jaw, warm smile, the guy who'd taught him to throw a baseball and fix a flat tire. That man was gone, replaced by someone Ethan didn't recognize, a woman named Sarah, who'd been living a secret for years. The letter went on, I've known since I was younger than you, but I buried it for your mom, for you, for the life we built. I can't anymore. I'm leaving for a while, Ethan, to become who I am. There's a box in my room. It's for you. Please, try to understand. Ethan's jaw clenched. Understand. How could he? His dad had been his rock, the one constant after Mom died 3 years ago. Breast cancer had taken her too fast, leaving Ethan and his dad to navigate grief together. They'd survive by leaning on each other late-night talks, pizza runs, rebuilding their lives brick by brick. Now, this felt like betrayal, like his dad was abandoning him, abandoning them. He crumpled the letter and threw it across the room. It hit a framed photo, knocking it face down. Ethan didn't care. His eyes burned, but he refused to cry. Instead, he stood, stormed to his dad's bedroom, and found the box on the dresser. It was small, wooden, carved with his name in careful script, Ethan. His fingers hovered over it, torn between curiosity and rage. What could possibly be inside that would make this okay? He lifted the lid. Inside was a journal, a stack of old photos, and a folded note with his name. The journal's leather cover was worn, like it had been handled 1,000 times. Ethan hesitated, then opened it. The first page was dated 20 years ago, in his dad's familiar handwriting. I'm scared to write this, but I need to. I'm not who they think I am. Ethan's breath caught. The words were raw, unguarded, spilling a truth his dad had carried alone for decades. Page after page detailed a struggle Ethan couldn't fathom, years of hiding, of pretending to be the man everyone expected. Entries from before Ethan was born spoke of love for his mom, of wanting to be the husband she deserved, the father Ethan needed. But there were darker entries too, nights of despair, of feeling trapped in a body that didn't fit. One photo slipped from the journal, a Polaroid of his dad, younger, maybe 30, standing by Lake Erie. He wore a flannel shirt, but his eyes were distant, haunted. On the back, in faded ink, the day I almost told her. Ethan's heart twisted. His mom. Had she known? The note inside the box was newer, written in the same careful hand. Ethan, this is my story, but it's yours too. I hid so you could have a normal life, but I can't hide anymore. I love you. I hope one day you'll see me as I am, Sarah. Ethan's hands shook. He wanted to tear the journal apart, to burn every page. How could his dad think this would fix anything? He slammed the box shut and shoved it under the bed, out of sight. But the words lingered, seeping into him like rain through cracked pavement. That night, Ethan barely slept. His phone buzzed with a text from his best friend. Marcus, yo? You okay? Heard about your dad. Ethan ignored it. Marcus was the only one who knew. The only one Ethan had told in a fit of anger after the fight. He regretted it now. The whole town would know soon small places like theirs didn't keep secrets. By morning, Ethan's anger had hardened into resolve. He'd go to school, act normal, pretend his world wasn't collapsing. But as he grabbed his backpack, he saw the crumpled letter on the floor. Against his better judgment, he smoothed it out and slipped it into his pocket. Maybe it was a tether to the dad he'd lost or a map to the person he didn't yet understand. At school, whispers followed him. A girl in history class stared too long. A guy in the hallway muttered something under his breath. Ethan kept his head down, but the weight of their eyes pressed harder than ever. Marcus caught up with him at lunch, sliding into the seat across from him in the cafeteria. "You want to talk?" he asked, voice low. "No," Ethan snapped, poking at his untouched fries. "What's there to say? My dad's gone. He's someone else now." Marcus leaned closer, his dark eyes steady. "He's still your dad. Man, people don't just vanish. Maybe he's just figuring it out." Ethan scoffed, but Marcus's words stuck. Figuring it out. Was that what this was? His dad Sarahad spent a lifetime hiding. Ethan thought of the journal, the years of pain scrawled across its pages. Could he really hate someone for wanting to be free? After school, Ethan biked to the lake, the same one from the Polaroid. The water was calm, reflecting a gray sky. He sat on the shore, pulling the letter from his pocket. "I'm Sarah now." He read it again, then again, each time feeling the words shift, like pieces of a puzzle he wasn't ready to solve. He didn't notice the tears until they hit the paper, blurring the ink. The lake's chill seeped into Ethan's bones, but he didn't move. The letter, now damp from his tears, felt heavier than it should. He wanted to hurl it into the water, let it sink with the weight of his confusion. But something stopped him, maybe the faint echo of his dad's voice in those words. Back home, the house was still empty. Sarah hadn't returned, and the silence was deafening. Ethan retrieved the box from under the bed, his anger softer now, edged with curiosity. He opened the journal again, flipping to a later entry. Dated the year his mom died. "Losing Emily broke me. But Ethan keeps me going. I can't tell him yet. He's too young, too raw." Ethan's throat tightened. His mom's death had gutted them both, but he'd never considered how it might have hit his dad differently, carrying not just grief, but a secret that must have felt like a second loss. He kept reading, each page peeling back layers of a person he thought he knew. There were moments of jointries about teaching Ethan to ride a bike, about family camping trips, but always a shadow lingered. "I'm lying to them every day." The next day, Ethan skipped his last class and biked to the community center, where he'd heard rumors of an LGBTQ support group. He didn't know why he went. He just needed answers, something to make sense of the chaos in his head. The room was small, with folding chairs and a coffee pot in the corner. A dozen people, all ages, sat in a circle. Ethan hovered by the door, feeling like an intruder. A woman in her 30s, with short hair and a warm smile, noticed him. "Hey, you joining us?" she asked. Her name tag read Jess. She/her. Ethan shrugged, hands shoved in his pockets. "I don't know. My dad's trans. I guess I'm trying to figure it out." Jess's face softened. "That's a lot to carry. Want to sit?" No pressure to talk. He sat, listening as others shared stories, some of acceptance, some of rejection. A guy in his 20s talked about his partner coming out as non-binary. An older woman spoke of losing friends after transitioning. Ethan stayed quiet, but their words chipped away at his anger. These were people, not abstractions, navigating the same messy truth his dad was. When the meeting ended, Jess approached him. "Your dad's lucky to have you here. Even if you're mad right now, it means you care. Ethan didn't know how to respond. Did he care? Or was he just desperate to reclaim the dad he'd lost? He left without answering. But Jess's words followed him home. That night, he found a voicemail from Sarah. Her voice was tentative, unfamiliar yet achingly familiar. Ethan, I'm staying at a friend's in Cleveland for a bit. I'm okay. I hope you're reading the journal. I love you. He played it again, then again, trying to reconcile the voice with the dad who'd cheered at his little league games. The journal lay open on his bed. He picked it up, diving into entries from the past year. I started hormone therapy today. It feels like breathing for the first time. But I'm terrified of losing Ethan. Ethan's chest ached. He hadn't realized how much courage it took for Sarah to write those words, to take those steps. But the fear in her words mirrored his own. What if this changed everything? What if they couldn't find their way back to each other? At school, the rumors grew louder. A kid in gym class called Ethan's dad a freak, and Ethan's fist clenched. But he walked away. Marcus noticed, pulling him aside. You don't have to fight every idiot. You're dealing with enough. I don't know what I'm dealing with, Ethan admitted, his voice low. I read his journal. It's like I never knew him at all. Marcus nodded. Maybe you didn't. But you can now. Takes guts to face that. Ethan wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at him. He spent the weekend at the lake. The journal his only company. One entry stopped him cold. If Ethan hates me, I'll still love him. Always. He closed the journal, staring at the stars. For the first time, he wondered if Sarah was looking at the same sky, feeling the same ache. Monday brought a new kind of chaos. Ethan overheard a teacher whispering to another about the situation with Ethan's father. The words stung, like he was some kind of spectacle. He skipped lunch, hiding in the library, where he pulled out the journal again. An entry from 2 years ago caught his eye. Emily knew. She found my old dresses, the ones I hid in the attic. She didn't hate me. She just held me. Ethan froze. His mom had known. The revelation hit like a punch. He'd always thought his parents' marriage was perfect, uncomplicated. But this meant his mom had carried Sarah's secret too, and never told him. He felt betrayed, but also a strange relief. His mom hadn't judged Sarah. Maybe she'd even understood. Ethan tried to picture it, his mom, gentle and fierce, holding his dad through a truth too heavy to speak. It made him miss her more, but it also made him wonder what she'd say now. That afternoon, Marcus dragged Ethan to a coffee shop after school. You need to get out of your head, Marcus said, sliding a latte across the table. Talk to me. What's in that journal? Ethan hesitated, then spilled the entries. The pain, the love woven through every page. Marcus listened, nodding. Sounds like your dad's been fighting a war you didn't even know about. Yeah, Ethan muttered. But why didn't he tell me sooner? Why wait till now? Maybe he was scared you'd react exactly like you did, Marcus said, not unkindly. Ethan winced. He'd screamed at Sarah, called her selfish, told her she was ruining everything. The memory burned. He hadn't meant it, not all of it, but the words had come from a place of hurt he couldn't control. That night, Ethan called Sarah's number. It went to voicemail. He didn't leave a message, but the act felt like a step. He opened the journal again, reading late into the night. One entry, from last month, stood out. I saw a therapist today. She asked what I want. I want Ethan to know Mirel I know me. I want to be his mom, if he'll let me. Mom. The word jolted Ethan. He'd never thought of Sarah that way. Couldn't yet. But the longing in her words pierced him. She wasn't running away, she was reaching out, hoping he'd reach back. The next day, Ethan went back to the support group. Jess was there, her smile as warm as before. This time, he spoke, his voice shaky. My dad's trans. Her name's Sarah now. I'm mad. But I don't want to lose her. The room was quiet. Then a man in his 50s spoke up. I came out to my kids late. They were angry too. It takes time. But love doesn't quit. Ethan nodded, the knot in his chest loosening slightly. He left the meeting with a pamphlet Jess gave him, full of resources for families of trans people. At home, he taped it to his desk, a small act of commitment. Over the next week, Ethan kept reading the journal. Each entry felt like a conversation with Sarah, one he wasn't ready to have in person. He found photos tucked between pages, some of Sarah as a teenager, awkward in oversized clothes. Others of her and Ethan's mom, laughing at a county fair. One photo showed Sarah in a dress, taken recently, her smile tentative but radiant. Ethan stared at it, trying to see his dad in her eyes. He texted Sarah that night, I'm reading the journal. It's a lot. I'm trying. Her reply came quickly, thank you. Ethan, I'm here when you're ready. The words felt like a lifeline, fragile but real. Ethan didn't know if he was ready to forgive, but he was starting to see Sarah not as a stranger, but as someone who'd fought to be whole, for herself and for him. Ethan's world began to shift, subtle but undeniable. The journal became his nightly ritual, each page a window into Sarah's heart. He read about her first time wearing a dress in secret, the thrill and shame tangled together. He read about her decision to come out. Written just weeks ago, I'm terrified, but I can't live half a life anymore. Ethan deserves the truth, even if it breaks us. At school, the gossip hadn't died down, but Ethan cared less. He'd catch kids staring, hear the occasional slur, but Marcus was always there, deflecting with a joke or a glare. Ethan started to notice others too, a quiet kid in art class who wore a pride pin, a teacher who slipped him a note saying, "You're stronger than you know." One afternoon, Ethan found a letter in the mailbox, addressed to him in Sarah's handwriting. His heart raced as he tore it open. It was short, I'm coming home this weekend. I'd love to talk, if you're ready. No pressure. I love you. Always. Sarah. Panic and hope collided. Ethan hadn't seen Sarah since the fight, hadn't heard her voice except in voicemails. He didn't know if he was ready, but the thought of her coming back felt like a chance, a fragile one. He went to the support group again, needing to ground himself. Jess noticed his tension and pulled him aside after. You're meeting her soon. Huh? She asked. Ethan nodded. I don't know what to say. I'm still mad, but I miss her. That's okay, Jess said. You can feel both. Just be honest. That's all she'll want. The weekend arrived too fast. Ethan cleaned the house, a nervous habit he'd picked up from his mom. When the doorbell rang, his stomach lurched. He opened the door to Sarah, standing there in a simple sweater and jeans, her hair longer than he remembered. Her eyes were the same, though warm, searching. His dad's eyes. Ethan, she said softly, almost a question. He stepped aside, letting her in. They sat on the couch, the same one where he'd read her letter. Silence stretched, heavy but not hostile. Finally, Ethan spoke. I read the journal. All of it. Sarah's breath hitched. And it's hard, he said, voice cracking. I get why you hid it, but it feels like you lied. To me. To Mom. Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes. I did. Not because I wanted to, but because I thought it was the only way to keep you both. I was wrong. Ethan looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't the dad he'd known. But she wasn't a stranger either. There was courage in her posture, vulnerability in her voice. He wanted to hate her, but he couldn't, not fully. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. Call you Sarah. Think of you as, not Dad. You don't have to yet, she said. I'm still me. Ethan, I just want you to know all of me. They talked for hours, haltingly at first, then easier. Sarah shared more her therapy, her fears, her hope to rebuild their bond. Ethan shared his anger, his confusion, his love. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. When Sarah left that night, she hugged him, tentative but warm. Ethan didn't pull away. The weeks that followed were a tightrope walk. Sarah moved back home, but things weren't the same. Ethan caught himself watching her, noticing small changes, the way she moved. Softer now, or the earrings she wore. It was strange, like living with a familiar ghost. They fell into a routine, cautious but functional. Sarah cooked dinner. Ethan did dishes. They talked about school, the weather, anything safe. But the journal stayed in Ethan's room, a quiet reminder of the work they still had to do. One night, Ethan found Sarah in the living room, holding the old family photo from the mantel. I miss her too, she said, catching his gaze. Your mom, she told me to be brave. Before she died. I wish I'd listened sooner. Ethan sat beside her, the photo between them. Did she know you transition? She suspected. Sarah said. She said she'd love me no matter what. I didn't believe her until it was too late. Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to ask more, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, he reached for the photo, tracing his mom's smile. I miss her, he whispered. Sarah's hand found his. A gentle squeeze. Me too. At school, Ethan started opening up. He told Marcus about Sarah's return, about their talks. Marcus grinned. You're doing better than I thought. Man, takes guts to keep trying. Ethan shrugged, but he felt a spark of pride. He wasn't just surviving. He was learning. He started talking to the kid with the pride pin, Leo, who invited him to a youth LGBTQ event. Ethan went, nervous but curious. The room was loud, full of laughter and stories. He didn't feel like he belonged, but he didn't feel out of place either. One speaker, a trans teen named Riley, talked about their family's rejection and eventual acceptance. It's not about them getting it right away, Riley said. It's about them showing up. Ethan thought of Sarah, showing up despite his anger, his silence. He texted her that night, thanks for coming back. Her reply was instant, always. Ethan. The journal's final pages were recent, written after Sarah came out. I saw Ethan smile today. It's small, but it's enough. Ethan read it over and over, the words warming him. He wasn't ready to call her mom, but he was starting to see her as Sarah, someone real, someone trying. Spring came, and with it, a tentative peace. Ethan and Sarah found a rhythm, not perfect, but theirs. They went to the lake together, something they hadn't done since Ethan was a kid. Sarah wore a sundress, her smile nervous but genuine. Ethan noticed people staring, but he didn't care as much as he thought he would. They sat by the water, sharing a bag of chips. You used to love this place, Sarah said, tossing a pebble into the lake. Still do, Ethan said. Just forgot for a while. Sarah looked at him, eyes soft. I'm sorry I made you feel like you lost me. Ethan swallowed hard. I'm sorry I pushed you away. It wasn't forgiveness. Not fully, but it was close. They stayed until sunset, talking about nothing and everything. Ethan told her about Leo, about the support group. Sarah shared stories from her therapy, her new friends in Cleveland. At home, Ethan found the wooden box again. He hadn't touched it since that first night. But now he opened it with care. Inside was a new note. Tucked beneath the photos, "I'm proud of you, Ethan. For trying. For being you." He showed it to Sarah the next morning. "You wrote this." She nodded, blushing. "I meant it." Ethan hugged her. The first real hug since she'd come out. It felt different, but not wrong. At school, Ethan started advocating. When a kid made a transphobic joke, he called it out, his voice steady. He joined Leo's youth group, helping plan events. He wasn't loud about it, but he was there, showing up. One night, Sarah asked him to help her pick a new photo for the mantle. They chose one from the lake, both of them smiling, the water behind them. It wasn't the family Ethan had known, but it was the one he had now. By summer, Ethan and Sarah were rebuilding, piece by piece. They argued sometimes about Ethan's grades, about Sarah's overprotectiveness, but the fights didn't cut as deep. They were learning each other again, like strangers who shared a history. Ethan started writing in the journal, adding his own entries. "I'm scared I'll never get it fully. But I see her now. Sarah's not Dad, but she's still mine." It felt strange, putting his thoughts next to hers. But it also felt right, a shared story. Unfinished, but growing. At the support group, Ethan shared his progress. Jess beamed. "You're building something real," she said. "That's what family does." Ethan nodded, thinking of Sarah's smile at the lake, her quiet courage. He still struggled with pronouns, with the shift from Dad to Sarah. But he was trying. And Sarah was patient, letting him find his way. One day, Ethan found a letter from his mom, tucked in the back of the journal. It was addressed to Sarah, dated a month before her death. "Be you. Love. Ethan will understand. He's our boy." Ethan cried reading it. But the tears were different, less angry, more healing. He showed it to Sarah, and they cried together, holding each other in the living room. "You think she'd be proud?" Ethan asked. Sarah smiled through tears. "She'd be proud of us both." A year after Sarah came out, Ethan stood at the lake, the journal in his hands. He'd added his final entry, "I don't have all the answers, but I have her. That's enough." Sarah joined him, her presence steady, familiar. They'd come far through anger, through silence, through tentative steps toward understanding. Ethan still stumbled sometimes, calling her Dad by mistake. But Sarah just smiled, correcting him gently. They'd replaced the old family photo on the mantle with a new one, Ethan, Sarah, and Marcus at the lake, laughing. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. Ethan handed Sarah the journal. "This is yours," he said, "but I'm glad you shared it." Sarah took it, her eyes glistening. "I almost lost you," she said. "You didn't," Ethan replied. "You gave me a gift. I almost destroyed it. But I'm glad I didn't." They stood together, watching the water ripple under the setting sun. Ethan didn't know what the future held, but he knew they'd face it together, Sarah and him. A family redefined by love, not anger. And that was enough.